Hey guys! Welcome back to our channel. For today's video, we are going to make fresh pineapple cake. So if you want to know how this yummy and vegetarian cake is made, just keep on watching. So let's start! Let's make buttermilk with milk and white vinegar and then set this aside for about 5 minutes. And then we're gonna start with our dry ingredients. So we need to sift our cake flour, and then you're gonna add up baking powder, salt, baking soda, and then you go ahead and sift it. Sifting is a very important process to take out impurities and as well as lighten up the flour so it won't be bulky once you mix it with your liquid ingredients. After that, we're gonna mix it together to make sure it's all combined, and then we're gonna start with the liquid ingredients. So we need vegetable oil, sugar, and mix them together to cream it up. After that, we're going to add our pineapple juice, coconut cream, and then vanilla, and then we mix this together until it forms into a little bit of a thick mixture, as you can see, just like that. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients a little at a time. So what we need to do is mix in the dry ingredients, and then we're gonna incorporate the milk. And then after that, let's mix it again, and then the same process, just go with adding up the dry ingredients and then buttermilk again until you are done. So basically it's about 3 intervals of this. The reason why we are doing this, so that our cake would be fluffy and light, because if you're just gonna dump it in, it's gonna be dense. After that, we're gonna set this aside, and as you can see, the batter is very creamy. And then we're gonna take our 7-inch diameter round pan with parchment paper and then place in the batter. And then we're gonna tap this on the counter to make sure that the air bubbles would rise up and level this off, and then bake this for 35 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. So while our cake is baking, I'm gonna start with making the filling for the pineapple cake. So you can use fresh pineapples like what I am doing, or you can use the canned ones, but I like the fresh better because it's much more nutritious. So I'm just gonna go and take out the peel and make sure that I'm taking off the ice, because this part here is unedible and is itchy. And then after that, I'm gonna place in at least 215 grams of the pineapple, and then I'm gonna blend it into fine texture, but at least there's still pulp coming out of it, so it's not really super fine. And then in the pan, I'm gonna place in the blended pineapple, sugar, cornstarch for thickener, and pineapple juice. So I'm just gonna mix it without the flame and make sure that the lumps are going to be smoothed out. And then after that, I went and placed it in the medium flame and then mix it together until it comes into this thick like paste, and this is going to get thicker when it's cooled down. So I'm gonna place this in a bowl and then let it cool down. So let's set this aside, and then I'm gonna start with the decoration. So I am going to take out the juices from the bottled cherries using a tissue paper. After that, I'll set this aside, and then we're gonna start with our frosting. So what we are going to use is whipping cream and powdered sugar. So you need to incorporate the sugar before you start on the mixer, and as you can see, I wasn't able to do that, so the powdered sugar was flying everywhere. So when the whipping cream starts to stiffen, I went ahead and scraped the bottom and the sides to make sure that it's well incorporated, and then after that, I continued whipping in high speed until it's doubled in size. Now you would know that it is already enough because it's already stiff, just like that. And as the consistency is still very smooth, there's no air bubbles or is not overbeaten. After that, I will set this aside. So our cake has been baked and cooled down. I'm just gonna take it off the pan and take out the parchment paper. And then I am going to slice them into 3 layers. So what I'm gonna do is at least 1 inch of layer each. So that's 3 inches tall. And I'm using a leveler. You can actually also use a knife, a serrated knife with this. And if you notice, our cake is well crumbed and the spaces in between the air bubbles is beautiful. After that, I'm gonna go ahead and layer our cake. So I placed in a dollop of frosting so the cake won't move around. I'm gonna start with one layer, and then I would add pineapple juice just to make sure that our cakes is super moist, and then add on our frosting and then level it out. And then I'm gonna pipe on frosting on the sides to make sure that our filling will not go out of our cakes. So I just went and get a spatula to make sure that this sides is well sealed. Then after that, we're gonna place in our pineapple filling and level it off with a spatula. So I'm always emphasizing leveling it properly because we don't want our cakes to be crooked or sliding off or slipping. So we want pretty cake. So just make sure that you are going to level it properly. Then we're gonna add our second layer and repeat the same process all over again, adding pineapple juice and then filling in another layer of frosting. Then the pipe frosting on the sides and the same procedure, and then we're gonna add the filling again. And then finally, we are going to place our final layer, and let's not forget still placing pineapple juice because we want our cakes to be moist. After that, I'm gonna crumb coat the cake. So crumb coat is actually a thin layer of frosting on top of the cake to make sure that the crumbs won't be mixing with your final icing or the icing that is placed outside. So I'm just gonna go ahead and layer that off on the top. And whatever excess I have on the top, I'm gonna place that on the sides just to have that final coating. And then smooth it out. And then after that, I'm going to level the top of the cake with a scraper. So we need to set this in the fridge, so about 30 minutes. While we are doing so, I'm gonna start with making the pineapple glaze. So we need agar-agar, and then we're gonna bloom it with 2.5 tablespoons of cold water. And mix this together and then set this aside for about 5 minutes. So in a pan, I'm gonna place the pineapple juice, sugar, cornstarch, and then mix this together. By the way, the flame is not yet on. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow food color to make it more yellow. And then the bloom agar-agar. And then I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna take out the lumps before I start the fire. Cook this in medium-low heat and then keep mixing, and it's gonna turn into this transparent yellow-like substance. And then we're going to make sure that there are no lumps, so I'm gonna strain the mixture. And then let this cool completely and set this aside. Now we are ready to decorate our cake. Now you need to place a thick layer of frosting on the top. So I'm just gonna smooth it out and make sure that it's all leveled on the top. And with a scraper, I'm gonna go ahead and level the sides just to take out the excess. After that, I'm gonna level the top and then make sure that it's well cleaned and leveled. I went ahead and used the spatula again. After that, we're gonna place in our pineapple glaze and make sure that you use a piping bag so that you will have more control over it. And be sure that this is cold because we don't want our frosting to be melting. And then I'm gonna smooth it out with a spatula. Be very light with your hands because we don't want too much spillage of the glaze on the sides. Then I went ahead and placed markings on the sides, so I will be piping this cake out with an open star tip. So just this zigzag pattern all across the cake until you are done. that we're done our sides, let us decorate the top. So I'm gonna use a 1M nozzle, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make swirls on the top. So the secret to have even swirls is to make sure that you are going to do the adjacent one after the other, so you will have the proper spacing. And I'm just gonna finish this one, and I'm gonna place a little bit of space in between because we're gonna place something also in between the swirls. After that, I went and placed the cherries that we dried earlier. Make sure to wiggle in your cherries so that you will have rounded design swirls. I just love the contrast of the reds on top of the yellows and the whites. Now I noticed that I didn't like the bottom of the cake, so I felt that it was a little bit uneven. So I went ahead and placed in a piping using the same star tip that I used for the sides. And then I just go around the cake. And then after that, I placed in pineapple slices on the sides in between the swirls. So you can use fresh ones, or this one is the canned ones. Our cake is done. Now my favorite part, the test tasting time. So I went ahead and sliced the cake, and I'm gonna see how the layer goes about with this. So it came out very pretty as I expected it to be. The combination of that yellow and white in contrast with the red, and it's well leveled, and the cake is so moist. The acidity of the pineapple actually cuts through the cream, which is well balanced. Do give this recipe a try and let us know how you found it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more cake videos. I'll see you again next week. Bye!